Why are the Democrats so afraid of you?
I don't know, Senator. You'd have to ask them.
I have worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who helped him build this international human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. Now, so will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going to countermand missing children and exploited children going forward.
Mr. Patel, there is absolutely no doubt that you have the experience and the expertise to lead the FBI, and we welcome you here today. We are pleased that you are here. I've been listening to my colleagues across the dais and listening to their questions, and it has led me to one thing. Why are the Democrats so afraid of you?
I don't know, Senator. You'd have to ask them.
Well, I tell you what I think, and listening to their questions and your responses, which we appreciate, they know that you're going to go in and you're going to clean up that political cabal that has been over there for years. You are going to reposition the FBI to its core mission. You stated that earlier in this hearing, and there will be no more political persecutions and no more two tiers of justice, and they have liked having two tiers of justice. They have enjoyed it, and it has helped them, they think, in their political mission. They've enjoyed targeting Catholics. They've enjoyed targeting parents. But the American people have said they want no more of that. And our colleagues know you're going to clean it up. I want to talk to you about the Epstein case. I have worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who helped him build this international human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. Now, earlier I urged then Chairman Durbin to subpoena those records, and I ended up being blocked by Senator Durbin and Christopher Wray. They stonewalled on this. And I know that breaking up these trafficking rings is important to President Trump. So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going to countermand missing children and exploited children going forward.
Thank you for that. I do want to touch on the political persecution. I find it so interesting that they feel like you would carry out political persecution. Your parents are with us today. They fled Uganda and persecution from Idi Amin. And I think that with your background and given your family's history, that you would never move to political persecution. Is that accurate?
Yes, Senator, that is.
And we appreciate that you would remove any kind of two tiers of justice from the FBI because they have practiced that every day for years. Not all FBI agents. There are some good ones, and we certainly want to keep them, but the politics has got to be moved out of the agency. Now, they've tried to frame you as being anti-police. We've discussed that some today. And I know that you grew up working with NYPD officers in your community. And I know that law enforcement groups, including the National Association of Police Organizations, have endorsed your nomination. And on top of that, your brother is a law enforcement officer. Is that accurate?
Many of my family are, yes, Senator.
How many of your family, sir?
Well, I guess the Indians have a different definition of family. We got a really big one, and they're all family.
We all love big families.
So we got a lot.
I appreciate that. But it is accurate to say that in your role, you're going to do everything that you possibly can to protect the men and women who are protecting our communities.
That is of the utmost importance.
Thank you. I want to go to the Nunez memo. You were the principal author of the Nunez memo. Is that accurate?
Yes, me and staff.
Thank you. And that did really so much to focus the light on the Russiagate hoax and the political cabal that was for years operated out of the DOJ and the FBI. And I know that there are some that felt like that memo was not accurate. We know now differently. And I'm quoting a comment that was made about that memo and by a member of that House Intel Committee, and I quote, "It was meant only to give Republican House members a distorted view of the FBI," end quote. I find it so interesting. They use the term distorted view. I think the American people who for 4 years under Biden saw the FBI weaponized against them, against parents, against people of faith, weaponized against President Trump. I think they would disagree with that. Do you stand by the good work that you did on the Nunes memo?
Our team, and yes, absolutely.
And the Nunes memo was accurate in its description of the details, correct?
As confirmed by the Inspector General, the Special Counsel, because the Nunes memo only contained sworn information received pursuant to transcribed interviews and production of government materials, including FBI 302s and DOJ memorandum.
So the Nunes memo is accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that. In your new role as director, how will you work to root out 2 tiers of justice at the FBI?
The same way I have always done so, ma'am, with the utmost fidelity to the Constitution and integrity to law enforcement. Government must allow those who are privileged to serve to execute their law enforcement duties fully, but at the same time, the American people deserve accountability inwards to government, to any of those who violate that sacred trust.
And as you prepare to take this new role, what are the top areas of concern for you as we look at our national security?
The top areas when it comes to national security, ma'am, have remained unchanged, and the threat dynamic has increased. It's thwarting terrorist activities and terrorist attacks here and overseas against our citizens and our allies, and it also includes CCP espionage, which is running rampant these last 5 years through our country, including our cyber infrastructure and our agricultural properties, and it also includes taking on Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, and any other adversary that wishes to harm America.
Thank you. I look forward to a yes vote on your confirmation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No
What
more
Senator Blackburn
2
did in
tiers
that
of
exchange
justice,
was
and they
play
have
to a
liked
raw nerve in
having
American
2 tiers of
politics,
justice. They have
transparency about the
enjoyed it.
Epstein case, and
And it
who
has
exactly
helped
knew
them,
what and when.
they think,
But there
in
are
their
3
political
separate, interlocking
mission.
questions
They
under that
enjoyed
headline
targeting
that deserve
Catholics.
clear, careful
They've enjoyed
unpacking
targeting
so viewers
parents.
understand why
But the
Blackburn's
American
push matters
people
and why
have
Democrats
said
warn
they
about
want
how these
no
files could be
more
used.
of that.
First,
And
why do
our
people want
colleagues
those
know
records?
you're going to clean it up. I
Survivors,
want to talk to you about the
journalists, and
Epstein
members of Congress
case. I
want to
have
see
worked on
flight
this for
logs,
years,
phone logs,
trying to
calendar
get those
entries,
records.
and other
Who
documents
flew
because they
on
can help answer
Epstein's
basic
plane,
questions
and who
about
helped him
trafficking
build
networks, who
this
facilitated them,
international
and who
human
might have
trafficking,
enabled or
sex
profited
trafficking
from them.
ring.
Some
Now,
of those
earlier,
materials have
I urged
already
then
entered the
Chairman
public record.
Durbin,
Flight logs and
to
related
subpoena
documents were
those
produced in
records,
prosecutions and made available to the
I ended
public
up
in
being
prior
blocked
litigation.
by,
Those
Senator
releases
Durbin
show
and
there is
Christopher
material to
Wray.
examine,
They
and that, when
stonewalled
handled
on this,
correctly,
and I know
documents
that
can
breaking up these
illuminate what
trafficking
happened.
rings is
Second,
important to
what
President
limits
Trump.
actually exist
So
around
will you
disclosure?
work with me
Grand jury
on
secrecy
this
and
issue
privacy
so
rules
we
are real
know
constraints.
who worked with
Federal
Jeffrey
Rule of Criminal
Epstein in
Procedure
building these
6E
sex
limits
trafficking
disclosure
rings?
of grand jury matters,
Absolutely, Senator.
and courts
Child sex
routinely
trafficking
balance the
has
public
no
interest
place
in
in the
disclosure
United States
against
of America, and I
statutory
will do
protections
everything
and
if
victims'
confirmed as FBI
privacy.
director to
That
make
means
sure the
a
American
blanket
public
demand
knows
to
the full
release
weight
everything
of what
isn't as
happened in
simple
the
as it
past
sounds.
and how we are
In
going
many
to
cases, a
countermand
judge
missing
or the
children and
Department of
exploited children
Justice
going
must
forward.
approve
Thank you for
disclosure,
that.
or names must be
I do want to
redacted
touch
to
on the
protect
political
victims and ongoing
persecution. I find it so
investigations.
interesting
But that legal
that
framework
they
also
feel like
contains
you
mechanisms
carry
for
out
disclosure
political
when a
persecution.
legitimate
Your
oversight or
parents
public
are with
interest
us
purpose is
today.
shown,
They
so the
fled
path is there when
Uganda,
pursued properly.
and
Third,
persecution
who is
from
making the
Idi
demand,
Amin.
and why does that
And
matter?
I think that
Blackburn's
with your
line of questioning
background and
came as
given
part
your
of larger
family's
political
history,
theater around
that
Kash
you would
Patel, a
never
partisan
move
figure
to
closely
political
associated with the
persecution. Is
campaign
that
to
accurate?
discredit the
Yes,
Russia
Senator,
probe
that is.
and who helped
And
produce the
we
so-called
appreciate
Nunes
that
memo.
you
Patel's critics point out that his role in pushing selectively framed material in the past raises questions about whether his handling of highly sensitive records would be driven by a search for truth or by political advantage. Journalistic profiles and reporting have documented Patel's prominence in those conservative oversight efforts and his alignment with efforts to reshape federal law enforcement priorities. That context matters when someone who is deeply involved in one side's information campaign promises transparency, because transparency can be used to inform the public or weaponized to smear and distract. It's worth pausing on the Nunes memo thread because Patel himself pointed to that history in these hearings. The Nunes memo was a partisan release in 2018 that accused the FBI and DOJ of abusing surveillance authority. It prompted strong pushback, a Democratic rebuttal, and sustained controversy. A later Inspector General review found real, significant errors and omissions in some FISA filings, problems the IG called serious and worthy of reform, but the IG did not conclude that the entire investigation was a politically motivated setup. In short, there were failures that needed fixing, but the IG's findings do not fully vindicate the memo's broader political narrative. That nuance is important because it shows why dogmatic claims of total vindication or total villainy are misleading. The truth sits in the middle and demands careful oversight. So what should viewers take away from Blackburn's exchange, beyond the partisan headlines? 1. Transparency is essential and victims deserve it. If documents can help expose networks or identify enablers, they should be pursued by the courts and by Congress in a way that protects victims and respects the law. That's a bipartisan principle in theory, but in practice it requires institutions that will follow the law rather than the political script. 2. Process matters. Democrats' concern, shown repeatedly in hearings and oversight fights, is not opposition to openness per se, but to selective leaks and performative releases engineered to score points rather than to advance justice. When people with clear partisan agendas promise to clean up agencies and then selectively push for files that are politically useful, the result can be chaos for victims, impunity for wrongdoing that doesn't fit the script, and a public that is further misinformed.